Alright my guys, welcome back, and I have a new interesting list here. Is the best version of Horus finally found? Has it been found here? The Memento Horus version, and I will show you a nice replay showing you what this deck can do. There are a lot of synergies, but then there's also a big dis-synergy that I will point out in this replay. But yeah, we have the Memento deck here, which I think is a very nice deck. It's a very linear combo deck, and if you're not aware of how the combos work, I have a video that's linked in the top right corner, but I will also make a Master Duel combo video in a few days where I also show you the Anguish line. If you're not aware, the Darkblade is basically your best one-card starter, ending on one more interruption than would the Anguish. The Anguish is basically the second part of the combo that you start off with the Darkblade. This is also why we have stuff like the reinforcement of the army in here to a more, it's basically the fourth copy of our Darkblade that we want to have. And we can mix this up with the Horus engine. We can see we have the little engine in here, which is 3 Mseti, 1 Happy, and then 1 King Sarcophagus, and then you have access to your number 38 Hope Harbinger. You can make a Galaxy Eyes, a Photon Lord, could also make a Zombie Vampire milling stuff into the grave, which is quite nice because you want your one-offs, the Mace, the Goblin, and the Gaddick in the grave. If you're not aware, the Gaddick, for example, can resummon itself, and the other ones you also want to resummon, you want to have them in your graveyard, which I have seen some lists that run like 2-offs of all the 1-offs basically. So if you draw them, hard draw them in your hand, then you have a second copy in the deck that you can mill to the graveyard, but I think this is not necessary. So you can play this Memento Horus version here, and it's quite effective because the Harbinger and the Photon Lord would present an additional negation on your end board, so would make your end board stronger. I think the Harbinger is the way better one to make. This is a spell negate. If you're not aware, this also protects you from battling, can protect, for example, your end board IP Masquerina, so your opponent can then not just go into the battle phase, because you can redirect the attack of the opponent's monster to the Hope Harbinger, thereby protecting your Masquerina, which means your opponent cannot force out your IP Masquerina into most likely the SP. A Little Knight could also go into an Appaloosa if you have enough material for that. The other cool thing about the Horus engine in the Memento deck is that you can bait with the Horus engine, of course. You can use your effect of the Mseti, discard something to get the Sarcophagus, and maybe you can bait an Ash here that then cannot be used on your Darkblade or your Anguish, because one problem that this deck definitely has is that sometimes one interruption can stop the deck. If, for example, your Darkblade gets stopped and he cannot activate his destruction effect, and you have used the normal summon with the Darkblade, then it's very unlikely, if you have not hard opened the Tatsunuchi-chu, the zebra, that you can continue your plays. This is something that's a bit sad about this deck here. The disadvantage, or let's first talk advantages here, but another advantage that we have if you incorporate the Horus engine in this is that you have the ability to discard cards to the graveyard, which can be quite nice because sometimes you get stuck with your one-offs in the hand, the Gaddick, the Goblin, and the Mace, which for your combo is very bad. You want them in your graveyard, but you can't get them there. So if you then have your King Sarcophagus, you can discard them from the hand or discard them with the Mseti to get the King Sarcophagus, thereby dumping your Horus monster into the graveyard. And then obviously these cards could also basically have the ability to bait out an interruption. So if, for example, you go into a Zombie Vampire, it's quite likely that your opponent will use an infinite impermanence on the Zombie Vampire, therefore giving you the ability to then play your Memento engine. So there is a lot of nice synergy in this, but also a dis-synergy that I will point out here in a moment. Unfortunately, you will have to cut down on something, and as you can see right here, this specifically is cut down on the Bone Party, which I think is a bit sad because Bone Party is a very important card. If you're not aware, you can destroy one Memento monster in your hand or face-up field, take one Memento monster from your deck with a different name and either add it to your hand or special summon it in defense. And then this also can give piercing damage if you banish it to another monster, which it can give piercing damage to the boss monster with 5000 attack, which can be quite nice. But the most important one is the first effect. This is basically like a rescue from the Rescue Ace. No, is it rescue? It's no, not called rescue. The alert, emergency. I think it's emergency. The quick play spell from Rescue Ace, where you can basically dodge an interruption. So if, for example, you have your Darkblade, activate Darkblade's effect, and your opponent wants to infinite impermanence your Darkblade, then you can go Bone Party, destroy your Darkblade, thereby his effect goes through, and then you can also special summon another one to the field, which is very important because Darkblade's effect needs to destroy a monster. So if you destroy your Darkblade with the Bone Party, then you need another monster to destroy, which which then you have via the Bone Party itself. So I think this is a very important one. You definitely want to run this at 3. You could also just run the fusion spell at 2, which is also an option to dodge an infinite impermanence, and the deck really needs the ability to play through hand traps because this is one of the strongest weak points in this deck. So this is a bit of a disadvantage. You have to get rid of some important cards in order to fit this engine into here. And then we can also, if you're wondering, a lot of lists are playing the double SP Little Knight. Do you really need a double SP Little Knight? There's definitely a situation in which it is nice to have double SP Little Knight, which is because if you go into your IP Masquerina and then you go into your boss monster, which is normally what you end up on in your normal full combo, your boss monster and your IP Masquerina to go into an SP Little Knight. Making the SP first has the advantage that if you get nipped, which this deck is unfortunately weak to because you don't have negate on the board live at the point where you could get nipped. Unfortunately, you are also not really, but in some cases you are, but in the normal combo line, you're not able to establish the Photon Lord, which would be a Nibiru counter because it's a monster negate. Unfortunately, in the normal combo, you will not be able to get this on the field before 5 summons. I will show you in a moment why this is. This is because of the one dis-synergy that these two engines unfortunately have. But yeah, in this case, you have an SP Little Knight on the field and then go for your boss monster. And if you then get Nibiru, right, then you can use your Little Knight to banish your boss monster and the Little Knight herself so that they come back in the end phase. But obviously, your opponent could just, if he sees the Little Knight, drop the Nibiru then, and then you would only end up on your boss monster. So do you need a second SP Little Knight? I think if you have a second one, put it in here, but you don't need to necessarily craft another one. So let me hop over in the replay and I will show you why these two engines are very cool together, but then also why there is a bit of a dis-synergy, unfortunately, that you have to play around in order to make this like maximum amount of successful, these two engines together. So we can take a look at this, because the problem that we have here is that the zebra, the Tsuchinachinagu, the zebra here, it can unfortunately only be special summoned if you do not control any face-up monsters other than Memento monsters, which is a bit sad because that means that we have to go through the combo that in this case we will start with the Anguish. So if you're not aware, the Darkblade would be the first step, then you would summon the Anguish with the Darkblade, this one here, and the Anguish could then search your zebra, and zebra could then special summon itself because you control only Memento monsters and continue the combo from there. The problem is, if we go for the Horus monsters first and establish, for example, a Hope Harbinger to be safe from Imperm or a Photon Lord to be safe from Maxi, Ash Blossom, Nibiru, then we have a monster on the field that is not a Memento monster, and that means that we cannot special summon the zebra anymore, which means we have to go, or we have to reach the zebra point first, and only then we can activate the Horus engine. I show you this here. We go Horus engine. I just want to bait a potential Ash. We add the sarcophagus to the hand. And I discard the zebra because I have access to another zebra via the Anguish, of course. I drew the best combo starter, the Darkblade, so we are going to start with the Darkblade here, and I show you how you should play with this engine to make it most successful. So you go Darkblade, destroy Darkblade, summon the Anguish. Anguish searches the zebra, and now you special summon the zebra. And this is the point at which you can now use your Horus engine, because now you have the one monster on the field that needs this specific condition for you to not have any other monsters but Memento monsters. So now you can use your Horus engine, right? So we can go King Sarcophagus here, we summon the Imseti, discarding the Witch and also the Happy. So Happy, Imseti, and now, unfortunately, and this is the normal combo line, we are at 5 summons. So we have summoned the Darkblade, the Zebra, then Happy, Imseti, and Anguish, and now we can basically be nipped, which is a bit sad. I could have started with the Anguish because I had the Anguish in the hand, which would have meant that we only would need 4 summons here. I guess this is the best thing that you can do to play around Nibiru, but if you do it like this, then you will end up on 1 less interruption, because then you can't keep your Anguish in the grave, which means you cannot get the mace via your Anguish, which means on your opponent's turn you cannot basically change of heart one of your opponent's monsters. But concerning the Nibiru, if you can make it like this, as you see it on the field right here, start with an Anguish, go for the Zebra, and then go for the Horus monsters, that would be perfect, because now at the 5th summon we could just establish Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord and we would be safe from nip. But in the normal optimal combo line, unfortunately, this will be the 5th summon then. So keep this in mind if you combine these two engines here. Try to stay under 5 summons, because Nibiru is one of the most destructive hand traps against this deck, unfortunately. So now we are going to make, in this case, the Hope Harbinger. This is another point that's a bit bad when it comes to the Nibiru thematic. The thing is that normally you want to establish the Hope Harbinger because this is a spell negate, and on your end board you will already have 5 monster negates via your boss monster. So having another monster negate with the Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord, it's way better to have a spell negate and then also the attack redirection. So this one is way more valuable than is the Photon Lord, but the Photon Lord protects you from potential Nibiru. So this is why if we would have made 4 summons here starting with the Anguish, you would then go for the Photon Lord and not for the Hope Harbinger. But because we are already in Nib territory, no need for me here to establish the Photon Lord. I can just establish the Hope Harbinger and be safe from any spell interactions. So we go Zebra now. Zebra destroys itself and dumps to the grave. I will make a combo video, don't you worry, but dumps to the grave the one-offs here, and now we can summon from the grave because it was dumped the Getic, which we won't activate the effect. Anguish destroys itself, getting us the Mace on the board. This is, by the way, the card that can go change of heart on your opponent's monster. And then we destroy the Getic and search the fusion card. We can now fusion with our graveyard, putting this back into the deck 4. And here you should interrupt this deck on the Twin Dragon, because Twin Dragon now destroys the Mace in order to add 2 Memento monsters, the Horn Dragon and the boss monster. We can special summon the Horn Dragon because 3 monsters in grave, banish the fusion spell to destroy the Twin Dragon, add the field spell. Twin Dragon can now, because it was destroyed, resummon the Goblin, activate the field spell. Goblin can now destroy the Horn Dragon, going to dump to the graveyard the trap that can be set by the field spell in the end phase, and another fusion that can be added to the hand via the Getic. This is why we have not activated Getic's effect before. We are going to resummon the Getic because a monster was destroyed, and Memento Horus can now resummon something. We resummon the Getic, adding back the Memento Fusion to the hand, and if you're not aware, you can make a Guardian Chimera of this on our opponent's turn. Very strong. We go IP Masquerena here, and at this point you could go SP Little Knight, then go for your boss monster, and you would be safe from Nibiru, but obviously then you would have an SP Little Knight on your opponent's turn and not an IP into SP, which means you also lose 1 interruption, the SP Little Knight's banishing interruption. Now we are shuffling back 5 monsters. It's very important to not shuffle back the Witch or one of the Witches. Normally you don't have 2 Witches in here, but don't shuffle back the Witch because we need to resummon the Witch on our opponent's turn via the boss monster to get back to our hand the Mace. And the Mace is the one that can, during your opponent's main phase, if you control Memento Tetuchlika, Combined Creation, the boss monster, you can discard this card and target one face-up monster your opponent controls, take control of it until the end phase. So this is another interruption. This is why you need to let the Anguish stay in the grave. Now we can summon our boss monster here, and then we can set whatever we want to set here, all of the spells, and in the end phase will place this trap card, which basically says you have a monster negate for each of the 1000 attack and defense points of this boss monster here. You will have to reduce the attack and defense points for every negation. So you have 5 negates here, and then this one has 0 attack and 0 defense. But remember, we have the Hope Harbinger on the field, which basically can redirect attacks. So obviously your opponent cannot really run over this with 5000 attack, but if it only has 1000, then our opponent can obviously run over it, and then we can use our Hope Harbinger to protect. And yeah, our opponent realizes that he has lost the game basically. I just wanted to show you the Horus engine combined with the Memento engine. And obviously now at the end of the video, as I already said, I will show you some combos in the next videos, and I will now show you the deck list card by card. So if you want to copy it, then you can. I think this deck is very, very nice, will become stronger in the future. It's also a bit linear. You will get to know this when you start playing the deck. But yeah, we are running 1 Effect Veiler, can be changed for any other hand trap, 1 Memento Mace, 1 Memento Goblin, 3 Maxis, obviously 1 Memento Getic, 3 Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, 3 Anguish, you want 3 Darkblade, best starter, 3 the Zebra also. You can start with the Zebra also, but then your combo will be worse. 3 Amseti, 1 Happy, 1 Horned Dragon, 2 Nibiru, you can change this for other hand traps or I don't know, talents or something. 1 Boss Monster, Memento Tetuchlika, Combined Creation, 1 Rota, 1 Memento Titlan, 1 King Sarcophagus, 2 Called by, 1 Crossout, 1 Bone Party, which I already said I would like to bump this up to 3 because it's just such an amazing card at firstly dodging your opponent's negates, but then again, if you get stuck with your one-offs in the hand, you can also use this to destroy your one-offs in the hand and then also summon another body, because you want to have them in the graveyard. You have seen how much we want to resummon them for specific effects, so we don't want to get stuck with them in our hand, and this one can destroy them from the hand. We have 3 Memento Lanian fusions. We can only play 2 if we want to, 2 Imperms, and then the Mementotlan Cranium Burst. We have 2 Mementotlan Twin Dragon, 1 Guardian Chimera, 1 number 38, 1 number 90, 1 Galaxy, Zombie Vampire, sorry, 1 Link Kuribo, 1 IP Masquerina, 1 Barricade Blocker. Also very nice to discard one of your cards. Sometimes, as I already said, you need to discard your one-offs, so you can make a Barricade Blocker if you really need to. 1 Dark, 1 Sprite Elf, 1 SP Little Knight, 1 Celine, so you can go up into Appaloosa above the Goddess, because this is a spellcaster and you will have this in the grave. Then we have an Executor for finishing. That's all for the list. Thanks for being here. As I already said, there will be another combo video coming for this in the next few days. Let me know in the comments what you think of this deck list. Do you like Memento? Do you have it yourself? Have you played it already? And how is your experience? I really like the deck and think the artwork is quite amazing. Thanks for being here. If you like my videos, please consider subscribing, hitting the thumbs up and the notification bell, and we will see each other in the next one.